I love fresh salsa, pico de gallo, whatever it's called wherever you live. But one of the things that I absolutely cannot stand is when you get fresh salsa that is just a liquidy, soupy, runny bowl of tomato juice. You dip your tortilla in, you pick it up, and you get a little bit of chunky stuff, and then just liquid falls off. It's gross. It gives me the ick. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to cut a tomato for your fresh salsa so you don't give people the ick. I've got 4 tomatoes and 4 of the most common styles of knives there are. So whatever you have in your kitchen, you should be able to follow along. I have the Miyabi Koya utility, the Enso SG2 Santoku, the Wusthof classic blueberry, and the Shun Shiranami Nakiri. Let's dive in. Getting started with the Koya utility knife made with FC61 stainless steel. This is one of our exclusive series that we have. And what's great about this utility is the height right here at the heel. You can use this for everyday prep, getting into a tap or a push chop and slicing without banging your knuckles into the cutting board. So the first thing that you're going to do with these tomatoes is, instead of getting a paring knife and choking up on the blade and spinning around to remove the base of the stem or the core, instead all you're going to do is use your knife to the very side of the base of the stem and just cut straight down. Then what you want to do is come in on an angle and an angle, and you can pop out that little bit of tomato, put it off to the side, and now everything here, you are good to go and start slicing. Now, what you want to do here is just cut your tomato right in half again. So now you have quarters. Flip this upside down, and this is where you remove the wet part that holds on to all of the seeds. You're going to, depending on the blade, just keep your blade on its side, and you're going to come through like that. That's what you're removing. Right there, all of these seeds is the bulk of all the extra juice that comes along with your tomatoes in your pico. So I'm going to break down all of these. Push that over. And there you have it. From here, you're going to go into your small dice. So we're going to cut strips or bâtonnets. Doesn't have to be completely perfect in the sense of the length. You're going to get some oddball shapes just because you're dealing with something that's not perfectly square. Beautiful. Now, all of this is good to go. You can add this right into your pico. If you want to take this to another level of removing some of the excess moisture, the water that is stuck inside the tomato, then what you can do is, with your final batch of however much you're making, salt it, not necessarily to taste, but give it a decent amount of salt, mix it around, and then put it into a mesh strainer or a colander over a bowl, and just let it sit there for like 20 minutes. And the amount of liquid that will continuously come out because of the salt pulling the water out of there will further prevent the ick of your fresh salsa. Now, you may think that a lot of this right here is wasteful. And if you do think that, then you can kind of go along here and you can remove the little membrane that holds on to the seed, and then you can cut this up for the sake of time. I'm moving on to the next knife. I don't know, throw this in your compost, your backyard, do whatever you want with it. It's up to you. Bench scraper is one of the best tools outside of a kitchen knife that you can possibly have. And I'm just going to take this and put it into my finished pile. Now, the reason I'm showing you how to do this with different sizes and shapes of knives is because working with that fillet motion with a wider blade can sometimes be a little bit of a pain. So I'm going to show you how you can get around that. Next up is the Enso SG2 Santoku. This has a SG2 stainless steel core with Damascus cladding coming in at a 63 Rockwell. This is one of our in-house lines of Japanese knives made in Seki, Japan. Same thing, you're going to come down right to the side and cut, and then you're going to remove that little bit, pop it off into your discard pile. We're going to cut these right in half. Now, because the blade of this is much wider than the utility, what you sometimes need to do is on right here. See how I just popped that out? Then you can come in and just easily remove it instead of necessarily filleting it out. Sometimes it happens easier than others. Okay, right there, it doesn't want to go. So look how I'm angling this up, and then I'm pressing down with the side of the knife to keep that flat. So I'm not worried about the sides curling up and cutting deep into the flesh. Okay, that's not going to budge. So again, up on an angle, cut in a little bit. I'm pressing down as I'm flattening the tomato. And that one doesn't want to budge either. It really is all chance and where you slice this in half and then into your quarters, whether you're going to be able to pop that little membrane. I don't even know what it's called. The seed flesh. Now we're going to go into our bâtonnet, which is a 1/4 inch wide, into our small dice. Now, if you really want to take your fresh salsa to a whole other level, there's something called a tomato concasse, which is where you take your tomato, you give it a little score at the base, you remove the base of the stem, you blanch it in boiling water for less than a minute, and then you shock it in some ice water. And then once that cools down, you can peel off all of the skin. That's how we were taught how to do it in culinary school. To be honest with you, I don't care about a little bit of skin in my salsa. If anything, I think it gives the little bits of tomato a little extra texture and prevents them from getting mushy, but in certain culinary recipes, they may call for that. That's just taking it to the extreme if you ask me. But if you went to culinary school, you know that you can't really pretty much do anything without doing a tomato concasse. Not a consommé, which is a clear soup, a concasse. There we go. The Enso SG2 Santoku. Next up, we have the Wusthof Classic Blueberry. This is the newest Wusthof in the lineup of classic colors. This is a full tang, fully forged knife, which means that this is one piece of steel going from the tip all the way down into the bolster, which is a full bolster, down into the full tang handle. The only metal that is not a part of this would be the rivets right here. Okay, again, show you in this angle. We're going to cut just off to the side of the base of the stem. You're going to come in on a little bit of an angle, pop that out. And now we're just going to, again, slice this right in half. Notice that I don't have a serrated blade. Well, the thing is, you don't need a serrated blade to cut a tomato if you have a sharp knife. Again, we're going to hold it up on its side. Pop that out. Bâtonnet. Let's do this all together. It's little things like this that can speed up your prep. Is instead of completing them all at once, you can now just bring these all together. And instead of doing them individually, you're doing the whole group. Notice this rock type motion that I'm doing. I'm doing that because it's hard to stabilize stacked pieces of produce like that are higher off the cutting board, especially when they're sticky. So this type of motion, you get in and then you get out. It's that simple. You're minimizing surface area contact. Instead of going straight down and then pulling back, I'm going like this, creating that curve, and I'm not left with a bunch of product sticking to the side of my knife. There we go. We got one more. And for this one, we're going to use the Shun Shiranami. The Shiranami series is the newest in our exclusive series of Shun knives. This is based off of their original dual core series that has this herringbone Damascus pattern, with the top here being wavy. Shiranami translates to white capped wave, which is essentially what this is representing. So the Damascus pattern is what actually named this knife. And the Damascus goes from the spine all the way to the edge of the knife. With this, you get a very tapered bolster, which is comfortable at the pinch grip, a micarta handle that has this deep ocean bluish green turquoise color. Great knife. The Nakiri translates to vegetable cutter or leaf cutter. It is an all-purpose knife, although it is marketed and sold as a vegetable knife. It's great for honestly anything. You can break down a fish, you could trim some meats, there's no point, so it's kind of challenging. It depends on what you're removing. You can use this to slice raw meats, cooked meat, fish, vegetables, whatever. It's an all-purpose blade. It's not just for veggies. Okay, we're gonna go right off to the side, and we're gonna come in and cut that out, push that over, cut this in half. Ooh! This happens. Some knives just need a little tiny bit of love. Okay. See that? If you ever get a knife and out of the box, it is not perfectly sharp and it can't cut a tomato, a couple swipes on a honing rod and you will bring it to where it needs to be. Sometimes just in packaging, the cardboard that this comes in, plus I've used this quite a bit, so I probably didn't hone it last time after I got done using it. Even the cardboard it's in can just give enough little against the very, very, very fine point to just curve it just a little tiny bit. And that honing rod will bring it back to life. Okay, so we're coming down, pushing down this way as I'm coming through. That one wants to pop right out. That's easy. That's another thing you can do if you're worried about coming towards your fingers. Once you get to here and you get this weighted down like so, you can just finish it hand free. Get that extra seed and juice out of there. No one wants that in their Pico. Okay, folks, there you have it. The Shun Shiranami Nakiri, the Wusthof Classic Blueberry, the Enso SG2 Santoku, and the Miyabi Koya utility. This is how you cut up tomatoes for Pico without making soup. I'm Chef Brandon with Cutlery More. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have fun with your Pico fresh salsa that isn't watery, soupy, and doesn't give people the ick. Take care.